Hey everybody, good afternoon. This is Ask Me Anything. My name is Dustin Strong. This is where we answer any questions that you've submitted to us over the week. You can email us questions at info@strongandhealth. You can type them in below, and we will give you our best answer that we have learned combining clinical experience and the most recent research we can find on this. We got 3 questions today. One is about the Keto Fat burning pills that were made famous by Shark Tank, Goli gummies, and the difference between the stomach flu and the actual flu, and what do you do for stomach flu. And I have one PSA before we get started. 1 week from today, most Americans are going to be sitting down and focusing their entire day on gratitude, which is one of my absolute favorite holidays. And we're going to be eating probably more than is designed for a human body to handle. So a lot of people you may know may be reaching for things like Tums or antacids because what they're doing is they're putting so much food in their stomach that they can't possibly digest it all at once. So if you have not yet read why stomach acid is good for you, I encourage you to at least look at like a chapter or a portion of a chapter so you can kind of understand what's going on here and how that can actually be kind of an issue. And I'm going to show you what I contribute to my Thanksgiving dinner, and that is always digestive enzymes. My absolute favorite is Zypan from Standard Process. This is going to be something that actually helps you to digest when you're eating more than your body can digest on its own. So keep that in mind this Thanksgiving. Make sure that you are not doing damage to yourself. Obviously you want to kind of take your brain out and just enjoy the day. But in some level, if you are looking for something that's going to help you with indigestion, I would encourage you to think about more enzymes instead of reaching for something that's going to stop the digestive process and kind of possibly create a lot more problems. Okay, so that's public service announcement. So keto fat burning pills. I've talked about this before a couple times, so what is actually in the pill is the most important question. And I looked this up, and it's mostly beta-hydroxybutyrate. And what that is, it is actually what is the process of metabolizing ketones. When you get into ketosis, it turns into that. So we got to back up a little bit and kind of explain what's going on here. We have 2 sources of fuel in our body. We have ketones and we have sugar. And most people are sugar burners. And why keto has become very popular is because people are learning that when you are burning ketones, you're actually burning fat. And you're also reducing all of the carbohydrates. And I want to remind you all, to my knowledge so far, unless somebody can show me differently, I haven't heard of an essential carbohydrate yet. There are essential fatty acids, and so this is why it's interesting to note that your body has this mechanism to burn these. But it will preferentially burn sugar first. And that's the thing that we have to pay attention to. When you naturally go into a state of ketosis, you have burned up the sugar, you have used it up, you have burned up your sugar stores, your glycogen, and then your body changes over to using ketones from fat. It turns into BHB, or beta-hydroxybutyrate, and then it goes through a few more chemical reactions. It becomes a precursor that starts the Krebs cycle and gives you energy. So there's a lot going on there that is really important to understand, that BHB is what they're putting in this pill. So they're skipping a step. And whenever you're skipping a step in nature, I'm always going to exercise caution and urge you to exercise caution, because what's happening when that happens? One of the things that's happening is if there's already sugar there and you're forcing it to go into a state before the body was ready to do that, that can be very confusing to your body. My question is going to be, what happens to the sugar that's left in there that hasn't been used up yet because we skipped that step? And so when we have all kinds of problems in our society of people having high levels of blood sugar, the hemoglobin A1C marker telling us whether or not we're diabetic, becoming a higher percentage of sugar sticking to the blood, is that going to encourage that because we haven't got rid of that sugar because now it's just sitting there? Is it going to encourage more insulin to come and try to build that as fat? Can it actually slow down what we're trying to do? Now, in the short term, it can actually engage the mechanisms that your body needs to be able to understand how to use the BHB and actually use it as fuel. So at the very best, I would think it may be in a short term, it might be something okay, but I still wouldn't encourage someone to do it. Let's look at the other ingredients. Okay, so we have in there salts. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but I should be okay with that. MCT, as we know, is medium chain triglycerides, and I can see a value in that. But they not only have guarana, but they also have caffeine. And in fact, caffeine is the #1 ingredient. And I don't have a beef with caffeine necessarily. I actually enjoy coffee. But I do have a beef of sneaking in caffeine in other ways when I know that I'm already drinking coffee and it's going to push my caffeine levels higher than what my body should handle. So if you are doing it, just be aware of the fact that you're getting a double dose of caffeine there. So if you're doing it and doing coffee and you're trying to do all these things, that can be a problem. So what I would say is that if you're going to try to do this, I would encourage you first to do all the things as far as removing carbs and sugar so that that's not an element that remains. And if you want to use this as a means to kind of accelerate your way into it, short term it might be okay, but I personally wouldn't do it for those reasons. And I think some people are getting some benefits of it. So again, what this is the difference between is an exogenous component being put in, meaning it's coming from outside of the body to try to make this mechanism happen, versus endogenous, meaning the way that your body would naturally do it. So your body's pretty smart, it knows when to do the things it's supposed to do, and you start throwing things in there that are skipping steps, it can get kind of confusing. So that's my take on that, and we gotta be aware of what that's gonna do to our glucose metabolism when we're trying to do that. So Goli gummies is the next one. And when I looked at these now, of course, apple cider vinegar is something a lot of people are trying to incorporate to help with digestion and multiple other things. And I can definitely see the value in that. And so this is a gummy that contains apple cider vinegar. And unfortunately, I haven't had enough experience with it or know enough people who've done it long enough to know whether or not it's truly of value. But for people who can't stand that apple cider vinegar, it might be worth something trying. There is sugar in it. There's two types of sugar in it. There's tapioca syrup and there is corn syrup, or organic cane sugar, I think is what it is. So remember, every gummy you are getting a gram of sugar without fiber. So it's unrefined, it's going straight to it. So there is a bit of a concern and a challenge there. So again, it wouldn't have been my choice. I would just take a smaller amount of apple cider vinegar and put it into water. If you can't handle drinking or tasting the apple cider vinegar, titrate it down, go smaller and smaller and smaller until it's to a point where it doesn't really bother you, and try it that way instead. That would be my suggestion. Okay, and finally, the difference between stomach flu and actual flu. So when we're talking about flu, what we're typically talking about is a virus overall, and usually the flu virus is something. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by stomach flu, but what I'm going to take from this question is, what do you do if you're encountering immune challenges? And sometimes people can get an immune challenge from something that they've eaten, and so that gives them, so they've opened up the door and they've brought in an immune challenger like a virus through what they're eating, and it's causing disruption. And if that's the case, then you do want to make sure that you are supporting your body's digestion, your ability to eliminate and get rid of that. So probiotics can be helpful. Things that are going to be antiviral can be helpful. Making sure you're supporting your body's ability to fight off viruses by making sure you have good essential fatty acids, things like cod liver oil, a good healthy food source of calcium to be able to activate your killer T cells. And then vitamin C. You want to have lots of vitamin C. So if I were to get stomach flu, that's probably where I would gravitate towards. Make sure I'm getting a good whole food source of vitamin C. Some people are really big into the elderberry juice these days, and that can be good. A great source of vitamin C. Careful, a lot of sugar there, so don't overdo that. I would look more towards things like strawberries and berries. Sauerkraut would be phenomenal because it's not only going to give you a high dose of whole food vitamin C, but it's also going to be helping support the pH in the colon that is going to support the good gut flora and help remove the bad gut flora. So it's going to be about rebalancing your gut out that way. And there's many other things that you can do, but remember that typically it's going to be an immune challenge that's going to cause what you're dealing with there. It could be something else, and that's why you want to get checked and see if it is viral. And remember, if something's viral, an antibiotic isn't necessarily going to be the smartest thing to do with something that's viral. So think about what your body needs to be able to fight off the virus. All right, guys, there aren't going to be any videos next week, so have a wonderful holiday. Please make sure that you're taking the time to express gratitude. As we go into December, we understand that people's emotional challenges can get a lot more significant. Yeah, they can be harder. And so we want to make sure we're supporting people so that they can keep a happy attitude throughout the entire month. And there are some interesting studies showing that writing one letter of gratitude to somebody can have benefits in reducing depression over the course of a whole month. So if you're sitting around, you got nothing to do, that might be the best possible thing that you could do. Think of somebody that you want to say thank you to, tell them why they're an amazing person. It's going to help them, it's going to help you, it's going to be a win-win. And then if you still have other concerns, of course, all of December we're going to be focusing on making sure we are supporting your mood with multiple things. The Strong and Health Box is dedicated to that in the month of December. And we do have some events. I think I'm seeing fingers pointing at the fact that we've got something coming up on the 14th here, which is a Saturday at noon for people who are looking at to do some type of a fat loss program in January. We're going to give you some options on that, and so check it out. If you have any other questions, you know where to find us, but we won't see you for a whole week and a half. So have a great holiday and enjoy your Thanksgivings.